Have you ever stumbled on a secret so magical it could change your life forever, but also put everything you love in danger? This is the story of Ali Baba, a humble woodcutter, a hidden cave of impossible riches, and the quiet courage that turned an ordinary man into a legend. In a small village tucked between two golden hills, where olive trees whispered in the wind and wild roses curled over old stone walls, there lived a man named Ali Baba. His home was small, his shoes worn thin, but his heart was generous and open. Every morning, as the first blush of dawn spread across the sky, Ali Baba set off into the forest with his faithful mule, a weathered hatchet, and a song humming on his lips. The forest greeted him with cool shadows and dancing leaves that flickered in the sunlight like little green lanterns. The air was rich with the scent of pine and warm earth. Ali Baba would chop wood in steady rhythm, stack it gently on his mule's back, and walk home along winding paths to where his kind wife waited with bread still warm from the oven and a smile that could soften the day's weariness. One morning, wandering deeper than usual in search of fresh timber, Ali Baba heard a strange sound, the pounding of hooves, fast and many. His heart leapt. He pulled his mule behind a large rock, crouching low, holding his breath. Through the trees came 40 men dressed in black, their faces hidden by scarves, their saddlebags heavy with gold and jewels that caught the sunlight in quick, sharp flashes. Ali Baba's eyes widened. These were the 40 thieves whispered about in market corners, the ones who vanished into thin air after their crimes. They rode to a cliffside wall draped in moss. The leader raised his hand and spoke in a voice that seemed to command the very air. "Open, Sesame!" The rock groaned, split in two, and a hidden doorway yawned open. One by one, the thieves disappeared inside with their loot. A moment later, the door sealed again, leaving only silence and the sway of leaves. Ali Baba waited until the forest stilled, his heartbeat finally slowing. Then, trembling with curiosity, he stepped to the wall. "Open, Sesame," he whispered. The stone shuddered and parted. Inside was a wonder that stole his breath. Mountains of coins piled higher than a man's head, silken carpets rich with color, chests spilling with strings of pearls and sapphires, golden goblets stacked like fallen leaves in autumn. The light inside the cave was warm and golden, as though the treasure itself glowed. He took only a handful of coins, enough to mend the roof, buy a warm cloak for his wife, and perhaps a little sugar for their tea. Then he whispered, "Close, Sesame," and the cave sealed with a deep rumble. Life changed, quietly. Ali Baba bought a second mule. He brought more wood to town. The cottage was patched, the hearth warmer. But he never let greed touch his heart. His brother Kasim noticed. Kasim was rich in coin but poor in kindness, and envy burned in him like dry grass in fire. One evening, his eyes narrowed at the sight of a jar of fresh grain in Ali Baba's kitchen. "Where did this come from?" he demanded. Ali Baba hesitated, then told him everything: the forest, the thieves, the cave, the magic words. Kasim's greed flared. At dawn, he raced to the cliff with sacks enough for a caravan. He called, "Open, Sesame!" and stepped into the treasure's glow. He filled bag after bag, hands shaking with excitement. But when it came time to leave, the words slipped from his mind. "Open! Almond? Open! Barley?" He panicked, trying one after another, until shadows moved across the cave. The thieves had returned, and they showed no mercy. When Kasim did not come home, Ali Baba's heart filled with dread. He went to the cave and found what remained. With quiet grief, he brought his brother home and spoke nothing of it to the villagers. But the thieves now knew. Someone else had found their secret. They plotted revenge. Days later, a stranger arrived in the village, dressed as an oil merchant with a cart of large jars. 39 of them held not oil, but men, crouched and waiting for nightfall. Only one person saw something odd: Morgiana, the clever young woman who worked in Ali Baba's home. That night, as the merchant ate with Ali Baba, she slipped to the courtyard. At the first jar, she heard faint breathing. The second, a whisper. Her pulse raced, but her mind was sharp. She returned to the kitchen, set a great kettle of oil on the fire, and carried it back into the night. Quiet as a shadow, she poured a little into each jar. 1, 2, 3, until not a single thief could rise. When the leader came to strike, Morgiana faced him without fear. With quick thinking and steady hands, she ended the danger before it could touch the house. The next morning, Ali Baba learned the truth. He took her hands and pressed them to his heart. "You have saved not just my life, but all I love. I will never forget it." Years passed. The cave's door remained hidden, its words known only to Ali Baba and Morgiana. He used the treasure sparingly, to build a school, feed the hungry, plant orchards where barren ground had once stretched. His home was filled not with gold, but with the laughter of friends, the gratitude of neighbors, and the quiet knowledge that they were safe. Ali Baba understood at last that the greatest fortune isn't what you keep locked away. It's the kindness you give, the trust you earn, and the courage to do what's right even when no one is watching. And sometimes the richest life is the one that takes only what is needed and gives back far more. If you enjoyed this story, like, comment, and subscribe for more magical tales. And don't forget to ring the bell so you never miss a story that warms your heart and sparks your imagination.